Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hey guys, welcome to Spooky Tuesday, our first episode. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff. Monica and Sydney first had the idea to start a scary movie podcast a couple of months ago, but we really got the ball rolling when we started watching movies every week with a group of friends. We loved having our virtual movie nights, but we wanted to find a way to include other people, which is where Spooky Tuesday got its start.
Yeah, we sit there and we just talk about our movies and we talk shit about these movies. We love horror movies, any kind of horror movies, horrible B movies, slasher movies,
Monster movies.
It originally started with a shark movie, I believe.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Our very first entry was 47 Meters Down, Uncaged.
And it truly was uncaged and unhinged, and it really was inspirational. Because, I mean, we're in the middle of fucking quarantine. We have nothing to bring us joy. And the only thing that made me happy, honestly, every Tuesday was watching spooky movies with you guys on the internet. So thank you.
And now we just really want to bring our love and our enthusiasm for all things spooky to y'all.
Get in on these scary ass Tuesdays with us. It's mostly funny, not as scary as you'd think.
We are, drumroll please, ladies, starting with our favorite. I mean, it's been my favorite from all of the movies that we've watched. Scream.
This franchise obviously is super iconic and really kind of kickstarted horror's like whole new movement again. I guess there had been kind of a lull in between having a really big moment in the 80s and then this movie bringing it back. But it was just, the whole franchise was such a hit with our OG spooky crew. We've all got our different favorites, but Scream 2 was the most highly attended movie. Before we get to that one, though, we have to talk about Scream 1, the original. It's not called Scream 1, it's just called Scream. We watched it again.
Setting it up for a franchise. Scream
They were
1.
like, we know there's gonna be a sequel, but before we get there, let's just lay the groundwork.
When did y'all originally watch this movie? Because it came out in 1996, and I was 6 when it came out. I'm 100% sure that I watched it by the time I was 7, and I was way too young, and I was obsessed with this movie.
God damn it. Everybody was allowed to watch scary movies when they were a little kid except for me. But honestly, I was such a little pansy that I never would have been able to handle it. So I'm glad that I didn't see this until like 3 years ago because I was finally ready at that point.
I don't know if I was allowed to watch scary movies per se, but I was pretty unsupervised a lot as a child and left to my own devices. And I just watched a lot of inappropriate horror movies growing up.
Yeah, I don't know when I first saw it, but I did get a TV in my room in the 5th grade, which was a mistake on my parents' part. And I think I probably just like watched it when it was on the TV sometime. I think that's how I saw a lot of movies I probably was not supposed to back in the day. It was just like playing on what was at the time known as either Fox Family or like ABC Family way back in the day. And I think I probably just tuned in because I don't know when I first saw it. I just know at some point I had seen it.
It's always been a part of you, if you really think about it, you know?
It's always been inside of me.
I will never forget trick-or-treating one year, and a boy in my neighborhood, who I later went on dating in high school, but that's beyond the point, wore the big ghost face mask and terrorized us around the neighborhood at trick-or-treating, and we were so scared. It's burned into my brain.
I'm just so annoyed that I went like 25 at least years of seeing those masks and being like, oh, that's from that stupid slasher movie. I don't like slasher movies. And then to have myself just punched in the face with reality when I finally watched it and realized that I was a hoity toity asshole.
But see, that's one of the best things about this movie is so many people had your slasher movies were so played out by 1996. They were doing remakes of the same films and sequels and, 800, Halloweens and Jason and Freddy Krueger that Scream just blew things out of the water because it was so self-aware.
So,
It was I don't want to say meta, but I mean,
no,
I
that's,
guess
that's pretty
meta.
meta.
It had so much love for the genre, is what I think was really special about it. It was like
Mhm.
a lot of horror movies, when they were being meta, they were like, we know this is a horror, we know you've seen it all before, but this movie was such a love letter to horror movies.
No, that's so true. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Especially Halloween. There's more Halloween references in this movie than I can count, to the point when we rewatched it yesterday, I was like, "Oh, that's a Halloween reference. Oh, that's a Halloween reference. Oh, guess what? They're watching actual Halloween at the end of it."
I didn't even realize that, but now you saying that, I can totally see that. Also, all the Freddy Krueger references too
Mm-hmm.
were so good. Like, there's this moment where there's just a random janitor, and he's 100% dressed up as Freddy, like head to toe, just
Um,
casually.
IMDb trivia says that is the actual Freddy sweater. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's real, but people don't lie on the internet, so I have to
No, they don't.
assume that's the real sweater. You know what I mean?
No, the internet is never wrong.
Yeah, IMDb trivia is like the Bible, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
like that doesn't mean a lot actually. It's like an encyclopedia. How about that?
I gotta say though, when we watched Scream for the first time with our OG Spooky crew, I hadn't seen Halloween at that point. And so like I knew that there were a lot of references. I appreciated that they existed. I was like, whatever. And then once we had seen Halloween and we watched this again, when I recognized it on the screen, I don't know, it hit different. It felt really special. Like it wasn't I felt closer to the movie, you know what I mean? It felt like I was part of it now, like I got the joke.
It's like finally I'm in on this.
I'm part of the crew.
It's like I'm finally cool and educated enough to know what the hell is going on in this movie. I still didn't get it yesterday, so thanks for bringing that up.
Anything that we can do to make you, feel like you don't get it, we're down for, Monica.
No, I really appreciate it. Put me in my place. I need that.
That's the thing though, is we all kind of come from different spooky backgrounds. Where I know, Sydney, you've seen a lot of the classics, but you haven't seen a lot of the newer ones. I missed out on a lot of classics, and I just saw like what was on TV and then some new things. And Monica, I know you've seen a lot of the really weird shit.
Yeah, I went through.
Recently, you watch recent horror movies, right? Like you
Oh,
go
yeah.
in theaters when we could go into theaters and like see right when they come out, right?
There is nothing better than seeing it in the theater. My favorite thing to do is to go with my friend Hawk and just like obliterate his hand from holding it so hard from being so scared. Most recently, I did that for Invisible Man, and I screamed so loud that I hurt him. Another time, I saw Annabelle Creation with my friend Walter, and he's my coworker. So we were new friends, and I socked him in the arm because I was so scared. So that was good. I hope we do that one on the pod. But for me, I don't know when I got so into scary movies. I've always loved them. I've always loved Halloween, but I like really picked up steam for some reason last fall. It was right after Halloween, and I got over my fear of watching scary movies by myself, and I just was watching a scary movie literally every single night by myself because my fucking boyfriend didn't want to watch them with me. And then literally after 3 months me watching them all by myself, he was like, "You know what, Monica? I got over my fear of scary movies, and now I would like to watch every movie you just fucking watched again with you right now." It was a big fight.
Adam, ruiner of all movies. But can we talk about maybe my favorite thing in this movie,
Mhm.
which is the cast of this movie?
Oh God, it's perfect.
Everyone is so iconic in their role is the thing. Is like I don't know how many of them were huge stars at the time. Because when I was watching, I was like, has Drew Barrymore ever done another horror movie? And then IMDb trivia told me that not only has Drew Barrymore done a bunch of other horror movies, but she had the most horror movie credits of anyone at the time of filming, which just goes to show that I don't know a single thing in my whole life. But
I had no
everyone,
idea.
yeah, everyone is so perfect in every single role. Like even the Fonz fits in. You know what I mean? Like a stunt casting move like that. I don't know if it's stunt casting, but a move like that where someone is so known for a certain role, sometimes it can like break you out of the illusion a little bit. But he was flawless.
Well, I know that Henry Winkler didn't want to be billed on the movie. He wanted to be, uncredited so he wouldn't overshadow all the new up and coming actors of this movie. What a great guy. We love the Fonz. He is perfect.
I also feel like this movie had the perfect cast that every other subsequent slasher was so obviously trying to replicate. They're like, we gotta find someone as hot and sexy as Skeet. His name is Skeet. I don't get what's his last name, guys.
Ulrich.
Ulrich. Oh, Skeet. Who named you? I'm so sorry, but you're so hot.
I'm pretty sure it's a
Oh my God.
stage name. I mean, I'm
So
not
he
the
did it to
internet, so I
himself.
don't know.
He made that decision on his own is our takeaway right
That
now.
is,
Yes.
wow, well, he's a confident man, and I don't blame him for being confident because look at him. And also, I mean, they have the ultimate scary movie, Romeo, in this film.
Google says Skeet Ulrich's real name is Brian Ray Trout, so maybe Skeet Ulrich is an improvement.
Maybe it's just like
Trout?
That's what Google says.
okay, so he could have been Skeet Trout.
No, he never would have been Skeet Trout, and I want that on the record. Maybe Brian Ulrich, maybe
Skeet Trout.
No. Don't stop it. Don't do him like that. He doesn't deserve it.
Okay, imagine you're like, imagine being like, I'm a sexy man trying to make my way, and I have a name that ends in a fish, and so I need to make an improvement on that. So I'm gonna go and do something that's Skeet. I'm gonna call myself Skeet.
Hello, my name is Jizzfish.
Yes.
Stop
It's the same thing.
You guys are
It's the same. Chelsea, it's the same
you guys
thing.
are bullying Skeet Ulrich, who not in current day, but his Scream era person. That's my boyfriend. So
I would date current him.
Skeet Ulrich is also my boyfriend.
yes, okay.
Skeet Ulrich, if you are listening to this, my bullying is 100% flirting. Please find me on Instagram and slide into my DMs.
You're gonna turn off.
I love the name Skeet.
Sure, but you're gonna turn off our real group boyfriend, who is Matthew Lillard.
Oh yeah, let's be real. I like Skeet, you're fine, but Matthew is the one.
He is our group boyfriend, the collective boyfriend. We love Matthew Lillard.
We are looking.
We're probably like his fan club at this point. Like we're gonna start. I will put hours in.
Sure.
I'll do whatever it takes.
You can be the
It's
president.
only our first episode. We could change this podcast to I Heart Matthew Lillard podcast.
We don't want to come on too strong, but that's definitely the subtext. That's the secret name. The secret name, like underneath all of this, is I love you.
Yeah. I think if we ever get to the point where we have merch, they will just be like, remember how Abercrombie and Fitch and like Hollister back in the day, you would go in and you would buy like a Mrs. Ashton Kutcher shirt? We're just going to have Mrs. Matthew Lillard shirts, and that will be our only merch. That's a lie. Maybe we would do other things, but that's our first merch for sure. Don't you think?
That's our first merch.
Matthew Lillard's Sister Wives.
Wow. That's a TLC show in the
Wow.
making. Give us a reality series.
We are
Yeah.
primed.
I'll sign my life away for that for sure. I'm very against reality TV, but for that, I'd be there.
So we have Zaddy Skeet, Mega Zaddy, Matthew Lillard, queen of all queens, Drew Barrymore, who is only in this movie for 12 minutes.
But what a
It was
good,
a great
yeah,
12
just the
minutes.
perfect 12 minutes.
Here's the thing. Her scene at the beginning is the best scene of the movie. It is the scene of the movie that you remember, that made a lasting impression, that scared the shit out of 7-year-old Sydney watching her be chased around, her boyfriend being absolutely gutted
Disemboweled.
like a trout.
Stop.
And honestly, the most iconic look, most lasting iconic look from at least this one of the franchise, because we know later on there's different haircuts that really stand out. But the blonde bob with the front bangs on Drew Barrymore. If you see a Scream shirt, it either has the ghost face on there or it has Drew Barrymore screaming with the giant ass home phone next to her face. Like that's the picture.
I had that haircut.
You did.
7-year-old me had that exact same haircut. When I tell you that this is my favorite movie, again, I had the haircut. My name is Sydney. I dated a boy named Billy.
On purpose?
No comment, maybe?
Oh dear God. I'm sorry, girl, but Drew did the bob with the bangs a little bit better than 8-year-old Sydney did, but you still looked really cute. And I do have a printout of that photo in my home. And so thank you.
I just think that, I mean, if you want to talk about favorite moments, maybe mine would be somebody else, but you're right. As far as self-contained scenes go, that character story is incredible. Drew Barrymore did amazing. I think she was originally, this is another IMDb trivia for you. I think she was originally going to play Sydney, and then she was like, do you know what would be interesting? Do you know what would be kind of cool? Do you know what would get audiences turning out and then shock them right off the bat? Let's do a Psycho moment where you just like, you're like, this is the main character, psych. And then that's actually where psych comes from. It comes from, I'm making this up. I'm making this
Psycho?
up on the spot, but it comes from when you went to see. It comes from when you went to see Psycho and you thought Marion Crane was the main character, and then she dies 1/3 of the way into the film.
Guys, you heard it here first. This is now on the internet. Therefore, it is a proven fact.
It's true. Wow. Thank you for educating me on this.
You're
day.
welcome. I love words and the history of words. So that is that history of that word. And it really came into play here with Drew. And she really set the stakes for the whole movie where it made you believe anybody could die. And then, a lot of people did.
Yeah. Anyone could have died, and a lot of them did.
I gotta say, though,
Yeah.
I cannot see Drew as Sydney. So I think they made the right call doing a little switcheroo there because Neve Campbell is that bitch.
She really is that bitch.
I love her in this movie. I didn't watch Party of Five.
I honestly don't really know what that even is.
I
So
have no idea. Like
It's
I've never
where
heard
she's
those words.
from. It's like how she was famous. I've still never seen it. But the only other thing I've seen her in was The Craft.
sure.
So again,
Iconic.
Neve Campbell is our spooky queen.
Is her name not Neve Campbell?
I don't know.
Is
Now
it
you have me
Neve?
doubting myself. I thought for sure it was Neve, but I could be wrong.
I thought for sure it was Nev, but I trust you guys, and I'm outnumbered. So we will
Just gonna call her Campbell. Yeah, we're just gonna call her Campbell here on out. Don't go on the record.
let's just call her Sydney. Oh no, it doesn't work. Sydney's name is Sydney. Damn.
So you should trust us because Chelsea and I were calling Rose McGowan Paige this whole movie
sure
when
were.
we know her name is Tatum, but Rose McGowan will always be Paige from Charmed to us.
I got so gaslit by these two from that. They just kept like texting me, being like, "Oh, Paige this, Paige that," and in my notes, I literally wrote, "Paige looks so good in that little skirt." Blah 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 blah. And then I was like, then they literally were like, "Tatum, go get a beer," and I was like, "It's Tatum, and Tatum is a cooler
No,
name."
okay.
So
Here's the
I
thing.
need to believe in myself more.
I really honestly thought her name was Paige. I wasn't trying to gaslight you. It just like felt so right to me, and I didn't even notice it until you were like, "That's not her name," and I was like, "What?"
You know what? It's like potato, potato, Neve, Nev, Paige, Tatum. Who can tell the difference? It's fine.
It's a personal preference kind of thing, you know.
Skeet Ulrich, Jizz Trout, same thing.
I want to
God.
navigate away from that topic, which I feel we have
to.
covered it extensively at this point. I just want to say Rose McGowan also flawless in her role. I wrote in my notes, Rose McGowan is perfect as Paige. I'm sorry to Tatum.
I went back into my notes and I deleted Paige every time I wrote it and corrected it. So I have Tatum is iconic. So there we go.
Tatum has one of my favorite death
Yeah.
scenes in this movie.
Oh, for sure.
And it's one of my favorites, but I also take a lot of issue with it because I think she should have been in the sequel. I think she should have survived instead of Randy. I get we need Randy for, the movie
lore.
horror plot thing. But Tatum was a better character. She had Sydney's back. She was a great
She was
friend.
such a good friend.
She was really a good friend.
But her death, when she does, she has one of the best quotes when she's doing it, and she thinks it's does she thinks it's
She thinks
Stu
it's
or
Randy.
Billy or Randy?
They all think it's Randy.
Oh yeah. They always think it's Randy because Randy's a fucking freak. So they're like, "Oh, this must be Randy prank calling me like a psychopath." But no.
But when she's, "No, please don't off me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel."
We want you in the sequel too, baby.
Is that the first time it's called Ghostface?
I think so. Because I remember being like, where'd you pull that from?
Right? Like, because obviously throughout the series, we all know him as Ghostface. So I think that is the moment where the killer gets its nickname.
That is so fascinating. I can't say that I remember any other time that they really said Ghostface. I know the actual name of the costume within the film is Father Time. That like when he pulls up the costume bag from the store to be like, you can get this at any 5 and dime. It says Father Time on it, and I didn't notice that. I don't have that keen of an eye for detail, but that was also on IMDb trivia.
In what world would that be Father Time? But whatever, that's not.
It's like the Grim Reaper. I think it was kind of like a time comes for us all kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Death is inevitable. Yes, yes.
The Earth is our mommy and death is our daddy.
Oh Jesus Christ! What the fuck?
I didn't feel good saying that, but it did come out of my mouth.
Good hearing it.
I had a great time with you saying that, Chelsea, just so you know.
For you then.
Christ.
For me and me only, it was a private moment. But her doing that, her nipples are peak
Beautiful.
90s perkiness.
Okay, I have a question about the nipples, and I don't want to be weird about Rose McGowan's body because Rose McGowan has been through a lot. But yeah, so I don't want to be like speculating about her nipples, but I am only because I know like on Friends and stuff, they had like false nipples like in bras and stuff like that so that they would be nipply without like being their real nipples, right? Isn't that a true fact, or did I also make that one up?
Oh, they sell bras like that still to this day, but yes, it was very popular, I think, in the 90s.
Yes. So they were so prominent in that scene, and I didn't really notice them at any other point in the movie that I have to wonder, like, did they give her a nipples bra?
They might have. And also, garages are notoriously cold, so she opens the door, there's a gust of cold air. No, but I think it was a bra.
I also think that she had the most inhumanly perfect perky nipples to go with the I'm the dumb hypersexual person who gets killed. So I think that had to have been a obvious stylized horror movie trope in this movie all about horror movie tropes.
They're like, if we're positioning Tatum, I almost said Paige, if we're positioning Tatum as the slutty one, we got to make sure her nipples are a poppin'.
Yes.
Mhm.
Because we all
'Cause
know.
oh, you're gonna say the same thing as me. Only slutty girls have have hard nipples, you know? That's just how it is. Jesus Christ, the 90s were a wild ride.
My issue with this death scene. Okay, so when she is like just absolutely chucking beer bottles at
A queen.
Ghostface, right?
Obsessed
Like
with her.
just one, she has great aim. I could never. Why? I know she tries to open the door and like she goes back to the door and realizes it's locked. Why doesn't she just push the garage door opener and try it would open enough that she could slide under and then run back in and be like, the murderer is here. And I do want to know, was it Billy or Stu up there? It was Billy?
I think it's Billy. I think the thing is that they kill the other person's person. So like I think Billy killed Drew Barrymore's character because Drew Barrymore was Stu's ex. So also Stu was in the house and he said, "Hey, can you go get me a beer?" So it'd be weird if he just followed her out right away after that.
Yeah, I tried
That's
to
what I-
track who was in the Ghostface costume throughout the film and who was doing each attack. There were a lot of moments where there's no real way to know. And at one point, IMDb trivia said that there were two killers with Casey and Steve, Drew Barrymore in the beginning, because there's one at the front and one at the back. I don't know that I buy that. I think it was just Billy who went after Casey because the next day Tatum said that Stu was with her all night. And I think if
Yeah.
they're doing the whole I take yours, you take mine, so even if they look at us as the boyfriends or as the exes, we have that alibi in place. So I don't
Mhm.
think it really makes sense to do a double killer situation. And I don't know that they established that they have two costumes for one, although obviously it'd be easy to do that. But
Yeah.
I think Casey and Steve were both Billy. There's like an implied attack on Sydney's dad that we don't know who it is, but it's that next morning, I guess. Or when does Sydney's dad leave for the airport? Is it that same night or the next morning?
I think it's the morning after the murder because then she goes
'cause
to
they haven't
school and they find out about the murder.
Okay, so that one could be Stu or Billy. There's the first attack on Sydney. I think that one is Stu because Billy comes through her window 1 second later. So I think that had to have been Stu.
Yeah.
The call to Sydney at Pages, that was Stu, although we can debate this in a moment because after the sex scene, Sydney is like, "Who'd you call at the police station?" Because she's having this moment where she's like, "You didn't call your dad because the police called your dad. Could you have called me at Tatum's house?" Although that doesn't really make sense because if Billy's dad showed up to the police station while she was still there, obviously she was not at Tatum's house yet. And then Billy would have he wouldn't get his phone call after his dad was already there.
Yeah.
So he must have called Stu, and then Stu knew to call Tatum's house once Sydney was there. There's a second attack on Sydney. That must have been when she was in the bathroom, I think, and it could have been either one.
At the school.
Yes,
At the
bathroom at
school.
the school.
Well, but she ran into that's what I don't get. Like she was with Stu. Remember they were talking.
Mhm.
And then she ran into Billy.
Yeah.
And
And then
so
she
then
went
how
straight to the
would and
bathroom,
then she
so
went
it
straight
had
to
to
the
be
bathroom and the
Stu.
killer was already in there, but so how did Stu leave, put on the costume and then hide when those girls did the girls walk in when she was in the bathroom, the mean girls who I would have decked if I
she
heard
was already
them talking shit about
in
me.
the bathroom.
So I was it Henry Winkler, the principal?
Henry Winkler, how could you?
And then and then he killed himself right after. Like I don't know how that would have worked.
Mm.
I think it was Stu in the bathroom.
I'm gonna buy that too.
Also,
Although there were definitely a lot of Ghostface moments that are very questionable. Not in is it Stu or is it Billy, but in the sense of like why and what were you doing? Other than I guess you can attribute anything really to like psychological torture. But when
yeah.
Tatum and Sydney were in the grocery store, like you see Ghostface's reflection, and there's a moment where you
Yeah.
like see Ghostface outside of Sydney's house, and it's like, okay, so now they're just dressing up to go around and like maybe be spotted, but we don't even see them scare anyone. And that like definitely built tension for the audience because we're like, they're being stalked and they don't even know it. But it's like
No.
that feels like asking to get caught. I felt that was a poor strategic move on Stu and Billy's part.
They're being reckless at this point, and they haven't even killed the object of this whole fucking thing, which is Sydney.
Okay.
So, like, why?
I had another question about that too. So obviously, Steve and Casey are the first people killed. Then they kidnap Sydney's dad, and then there's the first attack on Sydney. So were they really trying to kill Sydney right off the bat, and they just didn't manage to pull it off, and they wanted to do her first? And then the whole thing like spawned larger after that when they didn't manage to pull it off, and that's when everybody else got the proverbial axe. Or was that just like a scare tactic to be like, we really want you to feel nice and afraid?
I feel like they weren't trying because I feel like that was them planning. So Billy like knew he would come and like do
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So I think that was just a let's attack you and then I think they used it to try so he would go to jail and suspect when he climbs through the window. One, did you know when he climbs through the window, that is basically a recreation of another Wes Craven movie where Johnny in a Nightmare on Elm Street, where Johnny Depp climbs through the final girl of that movie's thing. And Skeet Ulrich was cast specifically in this movie because he looks like Johnny Depp. And so that's another throwback to this movie, which I loved. But a lot of people might not, like Monica doesn't watch. Do y'all watch? Have y'all seen Nightmare on Elm Street?
I have
Like,
seen that one. I
would
have
you
seen that
have
one.
put that little fun
No,
gesture?
it was Wes Craven.
Yeah.
He did all the wow. I
Oh
need
yeah.
to
Wes Craven is
I'm reading on
our
him.
king of spooky movies. But I think that was truly to scare Sydney at first. Like they weren't she was that final cause of all the destruction. I will say though, a death that I have a lot of questions
Okay.
about is Kenny the cameraman.
Kenny, I have questions too. Please continue.
Okay, so we know Kenny's throat was slit with a
Uh-huh.
knife, right?
Mhm.
We know he was just absolutely wrecked. But then Gail tries to get in the van and like drive away in the van, but Kenny was on the roof of the
When
van.
did
So
Stu
how
have
did
time?
how did Stu have time to put and one, just physically, how could he? Matthew Lillard is 6'4" and very skinny.
He's 6'4" and he's 100 pounds. Like he's
Right?
so
He is
frail.
a waif. How could he? Kenny, wasn't a small man. He was a normal sized man, like a dead weight man. Matthew Lillard could never. I'm
It's
sorry.
called adrenaline.
There-
In the heat of the moment, you could even lift a car, you know?
like a
No,
mother
I
with
honestly
her
don't make
child.
fucking
Yes.
sense. Yes.
There is definitely some implied off-screen strength training going on because in the beginning with Drew Barrymore's scene, I was also like, okay, Steve gets gutted in the blink of an eye. Like they really practice that technique, and then
So fast.
yeeting the chair through the window with such force, like technique strength. Like they've been definitely putting in the work before they decided to take this on. And I don't know if maybe there was a little bit of a struggle with the original kill that started a year before we even got to the events of the movie.
For Sydney's mom.
Yes. So we learn at the end that Sydney's mom was the first target, and that was personal for Billy. I have to imagine it was just practice for Stu. But I wonder if maybe that didn't go exactly as planned. Maybe it got messier than they thought. Maybe it was harder than they thought, and they needed a whole year to get like to
Trained.
train. They had like a whole if they ever do a prequel, it'll just be a montage of young Stu and Billy at
Like
the
a
gym.
Doing like 1990s P90X.
Yes, they're like, how do I get so absolutely yoked, but like in a subtle way where you can't tell to the naked eye? Like, how do I get skinny muscles? Yeah.
Isn't Stu like wearing like baggy sweaters a lot of the
Oh.
time during the film? He's covering up the fact that he is just an absolute maniac underneath it all. He's just meaty, but somehow he looks like he's 100 pounds.
Yeah, I think we see Billy without his shirt. But you're right. I don't know that we ever see Stu's bare chest. And there could be some real muscles going on under there.
I don't know. I always, because at that point, was Billy dead upstairs? No.
At what point?
With Kenny being dead. Had Billy been murdered at this point yet? No, right?
Yes, because he gets murdered like right after they do some sex, right?
They do the sexy time.
So
that's what I was wondering. Maybe like he ran down and helped Stu this literally, I think of Kenny's death at night. It keeps me awake.
I mean, me too. He didn't deserve to go like that. He was such a good guy and a wonderful cameraman. I mean, those angles, Courtney Cox was looking fantastic the entire time.
Listen, one of my favorite quotes involves Kenny, and Gail just says to him, "Jesus, the camera, hurry!" And Kenny just goes, "My name isn't Jesus." Chef's kiss. The perfect line.
And IMDb trivia told me that line was improvised, which is just part of a grand tradition in this film of improvising iconic lines, although most of them come from Matthew Lillard.
Yes. Our unhinged king, Matthew Lillard.
He's truly perfect. Oh man, what did he improv? Tell me. Bestow this knowledge upon me.
Just so much. At the end, after he and Billy have penetrated each other with the knives, and I'm gonna circle back to that later.
Oh yeah, we got a lot to talk about there.
We got a lot to talk about in that scene.
But after they have stabbed each other, and Stu's starting to feel a little woozy, he is sitting down, and Billy's like, I don't remember who Billy wanted him to call. Oh, because he was on the phone with Sydney, and he's like, take the phone. And then while they were shooting the scene, Skeet Ulrich accidentally like knocked Matthew Lillard in the head with the phone, and it was just an accident. But then Matthew Lillard was like, "You hit me with the phone, you dick!" And that was I wrote it down. It's "Why'd you hit me with the phone, dick?" And that is an improv line.
He's like sobbing as he says it too.
And then like 1 second later, when he's like, "Did you really call the police?" And Sydney's like, "Yes, I did. Fuck you." He's like, "My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me." That's also an improv line.
Oh my God.
And then during his final confrontation with Sid, and I would like to talk about that sexual chemistry in a minute, but the "I always had a thing for you, Sid," and "in your dreams," that was also something the actors came up with. I don't know if it was improvised in the moment, but that was not in the script. That was an original moment to them, which is fascinating because IMDb trivia also says that they dated in real life.
Wow.
Wow.
Be a fly on the wall for that.
I mean, no wonder that moment was so sizzling.
It was very
Can't
spicy.
act chemistry like that, okay?
And Matthew Lillard covered in blood with all of this happening. We'll get into my love of fake blood when we talk about final scene in this movie. But one thing, speaking of hot, intense sexual chemistry, can we talk about the movie store scene with Billy, Randy, and Stu?
Just like a I would like to be Randy.
Mhm.
Randy did great.
Imagine being sandwiched between those
I
two
would like
guys.
to have
Even if they're yelling at you and telling you
Mhm.
you
I would
suck.
like to have Matthew Lillard's head on my shoulder. I would like to have um Billy standing right, not really Billy, I guess. Just that moment, one right behind you, one right in front of you. He like strokes Randy's neck at one moment. Um there's just a lot
Okay.
going
He
on.
flicks his earlobe. He flicks his earlobe. That is wow.
A lot,
Just
a lot.
It's
wow.
an incredible homoerotic
Mhm.
moment that I think there should have been more. I wanted more. I mean, we got a little bit at the end where Stu and Billy were like stand up spooning a
They
little bit.
love that moment.
Listen,
Well, they're just very close.
you know, two dudes murdering each other. It's a very strong
It's
bonding
intimate.
moment. It's intimate, it's personal.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we watch a movie that was from, the 90s or back even the 2000s, you always have to ask like could it have been gayer? And the answer is always yes. But this one really did set the groundwork. There was a lot of beautiful just raw energy, gay
Mhm.
energy, and if they had just pushed it 1 second further, we really could have gotten there. Missed opportunity, Wes
The thing
Craven.
is, there is a lot of fan discussion about whether there was anything going on there and whether Billy was intended to be gay. Because there's a moment, where they call him like a pansy or something, Mama's boy pansy, or maybe that's a line from the sequel.
That's what Sydney calls him.
Sydney
No,
calls him that.
Yeah,
yeah, Sydney, a pansy mama
yeah.
boy.
Okay,
Mama's
there's
boy.
another similar line from Randy in Scream 2, but this line in Scream 1 plus their clear sexual tension that just radiated off of them in waves made people think like, are they supposed to be gay? Billy specifically, and maybe that's why he also has like this weird aggression towards Sydney in regards to their sex life, where he's like, I want to be having sex with you because I'm uncomfortable with my sexuality and this will make me feel straight. But also, now that we've had sex, I am going to kill you because now I have to confront some other uncomfy feelings. But Kevin Williamson,
Scream. It's the coming out
Kevin
story.
Williamson was like, no.
Coming out story.
Well, Kevin Williamson was like, no, we didn't intend that. But I think the reason he said that was because people were maybe criticizing it in the whole like gay villain trope, which I totally get because you don't want your only gay character to be the villains and to be contributing to the gay people are aggressors, predators stereotype. But see, to me the thing is that obviously Sydney is also gay, so
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw somebody talking about this on TikTok recently, maybe, or on Twitter. But she does legit have an Indigo Girls poster in her room. Her relationship with Billy is like not super meaningful. Her relationship in Scream 2, again, just not that deep. And then Scream 3, she's on her own, which is when I really feel like she should have come into her lesbian awakening or have already had that awakening and now have just been like an out lesbian living her life. And they just refuse to give us that within the text, but they aren't giving me anything in the text that disproves it either. So to me, Sydney is big gay.
Maybe we'll get that in Scream 5.
That's what Scream 5 is about.
Can we do a quick prayer perhaps for a canonically gay Sydney in Scream 5? Can we just bow our heads and have a moment of silence? Thank you.
Thank you, Wes Craven.
Mhm.
Amen.
That was what I needed. You know, every movie we watch, we're always like, can this be gayer? And that stands up for me in everything that I watch, even modern things. I'm always like, they're ignoring that these two characters are clearly gay for each other. And you guys know that about me, but it just really feels like Billy and Stu are a thing, and if they don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Maybe they never acted on those feelings, and that's why they were so cuddly, because that was like the furthest they were willing to take it without having to be like, what does this mean for us? And like defining that relationship, which is always a tricky conversation to have, you know? And they were both maintaining that they had these girlfriends who they clearly didn't like that much, because it's also like, why, why did Tatum even have to die? Like,
Yeah. What was his deal with Tatum? She was lovely, very cute outfits, and we already discussed the perky nipples.
I mean,
perfect
I will
woman.
say between Stu and Billy, Stu and Randy, Stu and Sydney, Stu had the least sexual chemistry with Tatum, so I feel like they were just both horny. Because also if Tatum and Sydney were in love, you know, like I would buy that. I don't think they were. I didn't get that strong
No.
vibe, but if they wanted to be, I would support them. But
I get mad straight vibes from
yeah,
Tatum.
that's fair.
Yeah, she was super straight.
Mhm.
She was the friend that little gay Sydney was just in love
Aw.
with, and she was that
And they're
straight
like,
friend, which I feel every gay person has.
they're just
Yes.
in their
Yes.
little PJs together having sleepovers in Tatum's twin beds. Like that is
Oh, Tatum being like, "Bam, Sid, super bitch."
I just okay, first of all, I just want to say that I loved that Tatum is like such a sassy little hoe. And she's got so many iconic lines, and she has so many moments during the movie where she is the ultimate BFF, where she's like, if you pee, I pee. Clear, like every opportunity that she has to be there for Sydney, other than being late coming over from cheer practice that one time, she's there for Sydney, like every single time. And she's just a boss bitch. But then you see her bedroom, and it's like this sweet little girl bedroom, and she's like in her little baby PJs, and she's just so cute, and I just love her the most. And again, one more time, she should have gotten to survive to the sequel. She should have been Sydney's best friend in college. Sydney needed that continuing support system.
Yes.
Yeah, especially since Sydney was like, "Hi, my boyfriend murdered my mom, murdered all of my friends, tried to murder me, and now I'm gonna go to college."
Like, how do you, I get that she had to get out of town. I support that, but like,
But she needed her best friend with her who could like understand everything she was going through, so she wasn't the murder
let's be real.
freak.
She and Randy were not hanging out until murder started happening again.
No, definitely
Randy
not.
was not I don't want to say Randy wasn't capable of being there for her in that way, because I think Randy would have jumped if given the opportunity, because we know in this movie the second that he thinks Billy actually tried to kill Sydney, he's like, will Sydney date me now? Which also, like, give her a minute.
He's a trustworthy friend.
He is
Yeah. He's just trying to jump on it the whole time while she's being emotional.
all of
Hell
the
no.
friend zone versus the fuck zone discourse. Like, he was not being a friend to her at any point. He was just horny for her.
No.
So I think she just like, no offense to Randy, and Jamie Kennedy is an icon as well, but if I had to pick one death to swap, I would say Randy could have died, and I would have loved to see Tatum live.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. But I mean, I feel like we're missing a big part of the picture here by not talking about two of my undercover favorite characters, which had a romance that actually sort of happened, which is my girl, the bitch, Gail, and my boy, Dewey.
Completely not talked about them at all. And honestly, when you said that, I was like, who's she gonna say?
Very
Yeah,
confused.
that is the degree to which we have been ignoring them, that I forgot they were in this movie, which is so rude because they're also great. Dewey doesn't like really do it for me, but I'm sorry, Deputy Dewey Boy is one of the best lines, as well as when Dewey says, "What did Mom tell you? When I wear this badge, you treat me like a man of the law." Like, that's objectively great.
No, And
It's
when
incredible.
Gail, like, you could tell, like, they had some spicy chemistry when Gail's like, yeah, I test really hot with like 18 to 24-year-olds. And Dewey's like, well, I'm 25, but I watched you a lot when I was 24. And you were just like, ooh.
Oh no, he's like, I'm 25, but I was 24 a whole year.
Yes, that's what it was. That's what it
Mm-hmm.
was. And you're just like,
Ooh, yeah, Dewey.
Dewey. And Dewey is the dum-dum with Dewey. Is Dewey a himbo?
No offense to David
Mm.
Arquette, I don't think Dewey's big and hot enough to be a full himbo.
Okay, so is he an emotional support himbo, which is a regular himbo that just isn't hot enough?
What? No, that's not what an emotional support himbo is.
I don't think so. I think
That's
an
what
emotional
I use it
support himbo
for.
is just a himbo who listens
Have you
to
seen
you.
that chart that's like hot and respect women, and if you respect women but you're not hot, you're just a simp?
Oh,
Dewey's a simp.
No,
I don't know enough about this topic to comment.
Dewey in Scream
Dewey
is
is
a
a
simp.
simp.
Dewey in Scream 2 and Scream 3 and Scream 4 can be a himbo. But I think, and maybe this is
Okay.
colored by, I'm realizing this now. I think I saw Scary Movie before I ever saw Scream. So I think I did come in with the perception that Dewey is 1,000 times stupider and less competent than he actually is. So I want to apologize to Dewey on that front, although it really doesn't help his case that Tatum is constantly belittling him. But I think he made a lot of mistakes in this movie. And so I can't fully divorce.
He's just
Yes.
he's trying so
He sure
hard though,
is.
this whole
He
movie.
sure is. But in he gets better throughout the franchise. But in the first movie, I can't quite
That's
divorce it from that very silly character in Scary Movie. And so I don't perceive him as hot.
I think he's like cute, but he's so dumb that it's just like that's not
Mm.
hot to me, unfortunately. But I do
I
love
don't know.
his sweet, sweet romance with Gail. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And is this where I'm sorry, David Arquette and Courtney Cox met? Oh, it's real
I
chemistry,
think
y'all.
we've broken down the
Oh, yeah.
timeline. Those 4 weeks that we watched all of the Screams, I think we talked about it a lot. And I think some of our OG
Mhm.
Spooky Crew members, like, were very familiar with it. Like, I think Katie and Corey were super knowledgeable about their relationship timeline. I can't say that I stored any of that information in my brain for later. But it was like they were maybe married by the second one and then divorced by the third one.
Oh no. I didn't realize that. That changed the third one for me.
But they were definitely divorced by the fourth one, which is when Dewey and Gail are married, basically.
Yeah, but I think I recall that they were divorced by Scream 3 because that's when Dewey proposes. And also,
We're spoiling our next episodes.
I'm sorry, you're right. I know you don't like spoilers. So I will refrain from any further Scream 3 content other than to say it, in my opinion, is the best of all the Screams. But to get back to this
Oh, can't wait to
Scream,
talk
I know
about it.
I am waiting for that moment, and it will be incredible. But on the subject of this Scream, can we pick our favorite deaths? I mean, I know we have acknowledged that the Drew Barrymore death scene is the best scene in the movie, but is it your favorite death?
No.
No. My favorite death for sure is Tatum, also known as Paige, just because it is outrageous and it's stupid, and I don't understand how she possibly could have gotten stuck in that doggy door enough to be lifted up into the sky and then have her neck broken by. Is that what killed her? I think so. It's not clear to me, but I like that one because it's dumb, and I also hate it. That's why
I think that one's the most fun for sure. I think I have some quibbles. I have some issues with that death because when we see her like from the outside of the garage, it looks like a lot more of her body is through the doggy door, and then somehow when we see her from inside the garage, it's like just her head and maybe an arm. So I think the implication is that maybe she's like falling backwards or something. I don't know. But I think the implication is that her the bottom of her neck is against the bottom of the doggy door, and the ceiling of the garage is against the top of her neck, and it puts her in such a position that her own body weight like works against it to snap her neck. I don't think it's that like the garage is closing so forcefully necessarily. I think it's like the positioning as well.
It's different when you describe it in such real life visceral detail. Jesus Christ, how much did you fucking think about this,
I
Chelsea?
thought about it
Did you get into a doggy door just to like see like, oh, her neck would have been in this exact position?
I thought about it a lot last
because
night.
what
It really,
details.
I studied that moment, and I really was like, let's break this down as if I were on CSI.
Well,
You did a
and
great job.
this movie originally had like an NC-17 rating because it was so gory. Like everything that Chelsea just described, it was worse. Every single death was in detail and specifics and just blood and guts and gore.
Did they cut
Yeah.
it?
They had to because it wouldn't have gotten a theatrical release, and so they had to do like 8 revisions so it could get an R
Kenny's
rating.
death.
I want to see the director's
Kenny's
cut.
death in particular was cut down a lot so that we just saw the slit across the throat. It was like a lot more of Kenny's reaction, I think, initially, and they liked it because it like really humanized Kenny instead of making him just like Ghostface bait. But
maybe that part showed the part where Stu
Oh.
became like the fucking Hulk and hulked
now that's
him
an
up
idea.
and threw him on top of the truck.
And
That's
yeeted
kinda
him
it.
onto the
And
roof.
yeeted
of
him
the
onto the
truck.
truck. Wait, okay, so
Hey,
what
what you
are your
think?
guys' favorite deaths? Ooh.
I gotta say, Paige is definitely the most fun, but Stu is either my favorite or my second favorite. Tatum. Sorry, behind Tatum.
You said
I
Paige.
sure did because it's in my notes. I wrote Paige every single time.
It's okay.
But
Move
yeah,
past it.
Stu getting like gradually weaker and woozier after being stabbed and being like, "You stabbed me too much." And then when he has that final face off with Sydney where they do well, at least it's a one-way wanting to fuck street. But then she pushes the TV onto his face and he is electrocuted. Don't know if TVs work like that. Did have some questions. Didn't Google anything about old TVs. But I do think that's a great moment where she's like, in your dreams, TV shove. We see him kind of sizzling like a piece of bacon.
And it's also kind of like meaningful because it's like, oh, the TV, the movies are what inspired these murders, and now it's what's killing him.
There's a great line like that in the movie that's like, movies don't make psychos, movies make psychos more creative. And then Stu's whole motive thing is just like peer pressure. So that to me is very karmic that he gets the TV pushed onto, not just onto his body, crushing him and electrocuting him, but onto his face specifically. Like, beautiful.
Yeah.
How about you, Sid?
Beautiful, but also beautiful Matthew Lillard's face. Why? Sid, I want to hear yours.
Mine is obviously Billy.
Oh.
Because it's like it's like not even just his death. It is that whole scene, that last
final act,
the swan song, where they're all covered in blood. Fun fact: this last scene, they used 50 gallons of fake blood to film this last scene, which just sends shivers down my spine.
That checks out for me. That seemed like 50 gallons. Jesus Christ.
How much fake blood do they use, do you think? Where he has the fake blood on him in the beginning from his false death, which, yes.
The corn
I mean, it's all corn syrup, but canonically within the film, corn syrup, and it's like redder than the real blood, which is super
It's,
interesting.
like,
Yeah,
pink,
which
too.
also, how are they gonna explain that if they were the victims? Did they have, you know, those like fruit punches you would get at camp where they're like little bubbles? Did they have a bunch of those in a room at the party somewhere, and he was just gonna be like, somebody spilled on me?
It's like, officer, I was drinking my fruit punch and then they started stabbing me.
Yes. That's the only explanation I can think of. But has to be. But that they had that prepared, and then they had a second, obviously much larger. They have like fake blood, a little bit, and then fake blood, a lot of it.
Lot of it. And as these ladies know, and now you, dear listener, will know, I am not ashamed to say that I have a love of fake blood.
I thought you were going to say blood kink, and that's when I was going to...
Well,
no, that's, if she's being truthful, that's what it is.
I'm sorry, I just thought that's... That's why I thought you were being like, I'm not ashamed.
Hello, it's our first episode. Let me tell you about my blood
She
kink.
said that she's not ashamed, which is why I thought she was just really gonna go there.
Everybody looks sexy covered in blood.
Okay,
there we go.
All right, that's another motto for this podcast. Another integral truth to this podcast. There's things could always be gayer.
Like
Everything needs Matthew Lillard, and everybody looks sexy covered in blood.
Yeah, it's like our Spooky Tuesday commandments kind of thing. Thou shalt cover yourself in fake blood.
It's
You
like
must.
Randy's commandments for surviving a horror movie. These are our commandments of a horror podcast.
We're working out the kinks, but you gotta drench yourself in fake blood if you want to get with us. That's how it works.
Monica, it's too soon to bring up the word kinks. Not after Chelsea just outed me.
She needs another moment to recover.
I'm so sorry. Let's change the subject.
Billy's death. Okay. Everybody knows that one still frame where he is covered in the blood and he is licking his fingers and he just looks like that. You know exactly what it is. It's in your brain. That awoken something in 7-year-old me, and I've never recovered from it. And it just like, he's so hot and he's so bad. And we find out the motive, and when he's telling Sydney the motive about her mom sleeping with his dad, so he was like, we're gonna kill him. I don't think Stu knew the motive. I think Stu was just along for the ride.
I thought that was just for fun.
Blindsided.
Yeah. Like, I thought we were just doing it. And then, like, he gets stabbed by Stu because they're being dumb. And then Sydney impales him with an umbrella.
Multiple times.
She's like, die, motherfucker, die. And then Gail shoots him in the shoulder?
Somewhere in the upper torso region.
Gail shoots him. And then Sydney puts a cap in his head.
Oh my god. That's like the most iconic part of the movie. She's like, not in my movie, bitch.
Because he's dead, and he goes, eh, and then she goes, bang, bang. And just that whole end scene is my second favorite scene, my first favorite death. It is we get so much visual stimulation.
Yeah.
We get so much information.
Usually when I watch scary movies, like for a second and third time, I'm like way less down I like watching it the first time and then it's spoiled for me, so it doesn't ever get me. But I was like freaking out again last night watching this. Like I was scared again. I forget. I watched this a month and a half ago. I forget how freaking intense it is. It's just like blood, blood, blood. Everyone's hot. Everyone's gay, but they're not gay. And then they're all dead. Oh, Jesus. I can't handle it.
I just have to give full credits to Billy for being the biggest drama king in maybe all of spooky movies as a whole. Because not only does he get a fake death, which is excellent, but then he also like doesn't quite die and he gets back up and he comes to the top of the stairs and then he hasn't really been stabbed, but he does a slow roll down them to be like, I can't possibly continue on. He just
I'm
rolls
so
himself down the
hurt.
stairs. Yeah. And then he has that reveal where he's like, corn syrup. Like, just every moment from him, he's doing the absolute most. The fact that he decided to kill his girlfriend's mom because the mom slept with his dad. The fact that he's 1 year later, like, actually, that was not enough for me. I would like to kill everybody. Just, he's doing so much at all times, and I really respect somebody who has that much commitment to anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of follow through.
Yeah, I mean, like, counterpoint to that, but I agree. I also really have a lot of respect for Matthew Lillard's character, for Stu, just being so unbelievably unhinged that he's like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna do it for the fucking lulz. I am a true psychopath to my core, and I don't give a shit, and I'm just gonna do this because it's fun and I can hang out with my boyfriend.
Stu is a down bitch.
Okay. I think we can go from there. I want to give out the dumb
The
bitch
first
award.
ever dumb bitch award.
Oh man, this is a big
And
deal.
okay, so I'm gonna say my nominee for the
Mhm.
dumb bitch award, which piggybacks off Monica. I think it's
Oh.
Stu.
Oh man, I agree
I
with
think-
you. Honestly, that's what I was gonna say.
I think Stu is the biggest dumb bitch in this movie. He just got peer pressured into going on a murder spree. And I think at that very end that I think Billy was actually, when he was stabbing him, I think he was trying to kill him so Stu would be dead and it would only be Billy. And Stu was just dumb enough to think that this absolute sociopath wasn't also going to kill him.
That's a really good point. I would not have considered Stu for the dumb bitch award, but you because I really don't think he was peer pressured. I think his whole life he was waiting for somebody to ask him if he was willing to kill anybody. But once you said he didn't think Billy was going to kill him, but it seems like Billy was really going for it. Now you've convinced me, because it is a dumb bitch move to be like, we're gonna kill people together and he's never gonna turn on me. Like, obviously only one person can be left to maintain the integrity of the story.
There can only be one.
Yeah. Okay, that's a really good nomination. How about you, Monica?
I mean, I was gonna say that too, but I would say if not Stu, but I put my vote in for Stu. I think that we just gotta go with the OG dummy Dewey. I mean, he didn't die. He didn't die, and I'm happy for him. But he almost did, and he's really dumb, and we love him for that. But he's a dumb bitch.
Dewey's just the dumb
Yeah,
dumb.
He sure is. He sure is.
It didn't get him killed, but it's truly shocking. That's the most shocking part of the entire film.
Dewey didn't die. Charles, what's yours?
I originally thought maybe I would nominate Casey because she flirts with the guy on the phone for a long time. There's a lot of flirting with somebody who is a stranger with the wrong number. When she grabs a knife from the kitchen, she's holding it upside down. She stays on the phone, potentially giving away her location instead of hanging up and not having someone listening into every move. And then also, she does pause when she sees Steve and then she keeps running, but then she stops again, and she stops for long enough that Ghostface manages to catch up to her and grab her. So that was originally my thought. And then I had an honorary mention for Randy's, do you think Sydney will date me now that Billy tried to mutilate her? That's just dumb bitch material. But I have to. Oh, I also had
Randy.
Paige might be a dumb bitch for thinking she could fit those titties through the doggy door with ease. But ultimately, my nominee did go to Dewey as well, because you don't, if you're
Mhm.
the police, and you shouldn't be the police, but if you are the police, you shouldn't invite a
Yeah.
tabloid journalist to take a walk with you as you investigate something that could possibly be related to a murder, even though he didn't realize it was related to the murders until he recognized it as Mr. Prescott's car. When the speeding cars with drunk kids came flying down the street, he yelled, "Slow down! Freeze!" Like, he yelled freeze at these speeding cars as if he thought it was going to do anything, or if they could even hear him as they're shouting and playing music. And then when he finds Neil Prescott's car, he like rubs his hands all over it, not at all maintaining the integrity of the evidence. Like, now your fingerprints are all over this car. I just felt like, in addition to whatever other issues you have with him, like, bad at his job, just not good at it. It hasn't really come into his own as a
Nope.
member of law enforcement yet. So I had to give Dewey my nomination for the Dumb Bitch Award.
He's so dumb. God.
Dewey is so dumb.
That's what.
But you made such a convincing point about Stu not thinking that Billy would double cross him that now I'm like, that's such a good point.
He didn't know that that's the reason that Billy that started this whole thing. He looked super shocked, unless he's like a great actor in front of Sydney, but I don't think so. I think that was real within the realm of the film, to be clear.
Okay.
What if the whole movie they just didn't tell Matthew Lillard that was the motive, so that was his actual reaction?
Oh my god, he is so incredible.
The perfect
Okay,
man.
so who do we think is the biggest dumb bitch? Is it Stu or is it Dewey?
I still think it's Stu.
I think it's got to be Stu, because who fucking died? Stu.
true.
And Dewey's still kicking.
Ultimate dumb move is getting dead.
Is getting dead. That's the ultimate dumb move.
All right. Well, I think that makes it official. The first ever Spooky Tuesday Dumb Bitch Award goes to Stu. Congratulations, Matthew Lillard. If you would like to accept your award in person, we will be available whenever, anything for you. But now we have another rating to give out, which is our knives out of fives. We're going to rate every movie we've seen. We'll each do our own rating, a number of knives out of fives, possible knives. You have to lean into the right.
It's knives out of fives. You have to go. It's fives, okay? We're not misspeaking, okay?
I would like to preface this by saying Scream 1996 got 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb. It got 78% fresh from critics on Rotten Tomatoes and 79% fresh from audiences. And it did win the 1997 MTV Movie Award for Best Picture. So where do you guys think it falls?
Whew. That's like an Oscar in the 90s. That's incredible.
This is a 5 out of 5 for me. This is my OG favorite movie ever. Like, this is it for me. I watch this movie once a month. I have a great time. I'm never gonna get tired of this movie. I can't wait to show it to my future children at an inappropriate age so they can also experience the joy that I
Fuck 'em up
did.
young, perfect.
I'm paying for their therapy. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this movie is the bar, especially for you, Sydney. For me, I mean, the fact that it still scares me and I've seen it 3 times and I am willing to watch it another time in my life, probably at least 4 more times in my life. I'll commit to that right now. I'm not going to give it a 5 knives out of 5s because I want to leave a little room to be really blown away. But I am going to give this a good 4.64 out of 5 knives. Thank
That's
you.
respectable.
I get real granular.
I I do have some logical inconsistencies I would love to pick over. I do have some issues with the logic of the film that I want to like where are they gonna go with the fruit punch excuse? Like, I'm filling in a lot of gaps myself here on some of these things. And I'm happy to do it because I love a good fanfic. And this is an extension of that for me to be writing in these missing scenes. So there is a little work that I have to do as the viewer to make some of this make sense. But I'm happy to do it. And I don't really have any significant complaints. So, just for how legendary this film is, for how much it sparked in the genre, for how much love it has for the genre, I will also be giving it 5 knives.
Wow.
5 knives.
5
5
knives.
knives.
5 knives. 5 knives. It's really hard to say. But it works. I love it. Wow, I mean, so if you didn't watch the movie before listening to this, which, like, what the fuck? You have to watch the movie before listening to this. I have a big thing about spoilers, so please don't make me cry because I spoiled this movie for you. I have cried because I spoiled Game of Thrones for someone. I cried. And then I called him like 4 hours later and I apologized again, crying on the phone. So don't make me cry. Watch the movie.
Or do make her cry.
But
I mean,
If you've listened to this whole podcast and you're just now hearing the fact that if you haven't watched the movie, you've made Monica cry, pretend
right
like you haven't listened to this podcast.
and then you can just like listen to it again later. Because honestly, I love to spoil things
Huh.
for people. So you can make Monica cry, or you can make me happy, or you can make Monica happy.
it.
I won't cry if you've seen the movie. That's probably your better bet if you're looking to get on our good side. But I'm just saying, like, if we're spoiling it for you, that is a joy for me. So like, don't feel too bad.
So, if you want to keep these spooky vibes going next week with us, we will be talking about Scream 2. So, make sure you watch it if you don't want to be spoiled and make Monica cry, or, if you want to cry and make Chelsea happy, don't watch it and just come back next week.
Thanks for tuning into our first episode. If you liked what you heard, come and follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are spooky_Tuesday on Instagram and on Twitter. And you can also follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and please, 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 please leave us a review. 5 stars. That's how people see this shit, okay?
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.